أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Dear and respected mu'mineen, brothers and sisters, first of all, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, in this series of the sessions and episodes that we are discussing some of the virtues and fada'il of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha due to the occasion of martyrdom anniversary of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha. We talked about some of the great fada'il and virtues of this great lady in the previous sessions. In this session, I want to talk a little bit about the spiritual kind of aspect of life of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha. Because spirituality and ma'nawiyyah plays a very great role and essential role into the life of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha and Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, whose life is a kind of role model for all of us, a kind of exemplary life that we should take great lessons from their lives. That is why when it comes to the Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha's life, spirituality is the essential and the fundamental aspect of the life of this great lady. This is the topic that I want to talk about today in this session. But prior to delving into the main topic, let me first of all read this beautiful narration and hadith narrated from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam. The narrator asks Imam as-Sadiq that why is Fatimah az-Zahra salamullahi alayha was named as Zahra? Why was she called Zahra? The answer of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam to this question is really meaningful and interesting. It says that someone asked Imam as-Sadiq that سألت أبا عبد الله عن فاطمة لما سميت زهراء فقال لأنها كانت إذا قامت في محرابها زهر نورها لأهل السماء كما يزهر نور الكواكب لأهل الأرض. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says that she was named as Zahra salamullahi alayha because whenever she stood for ibadah before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that status of worshipping or ibadah of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha, Ahlus Sama, or the angels, for example, from the heaven, they saw the light or the divine and heavenly light of Lady Zahra salamullah alayha, or light of her ibadah and worshipping from the heavens. Because it says that كَمَا يَزْهَرُ نُورُ الْكَوَاكِبِ لِأَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says that whenever you look at the sky in the dark night, you see these stars over there. And the same way that the light of stars come down from the sky to the earth, and you can see that, the same way the light of the ibadah and the divinely light of Lady Zahra salamullah alayha was seen by the angels, by the we can say residents of the heavens. This is because of this that Lady Zahra is named as Zahra salamullahi alayha. So look, this spiritual life or this spiritual aspect of Lady Zahra's life is such an important aspect that not only the people who live in this world on our planet, but also the angels, those creatures who lived in the heavens also saw the light of ibadah of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha. So this is the light of spirituality that we see in the Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha's ibadat and worships. Then the other beautiful hadith that we can mention regarding Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha is this, that Lady Zahra was known as a kind of lady that she was always busy with dhikrullah ta'ala, with qira'at al-Quran, with making du'as, and even sometimes at work while she was doing something and working, it is narrated that she was reciting some verses of the Holy Quran and chapters of the Holy Quran while actually working, for example, doing something. Respected brothers and sisters, what matters most to us is this, that this spirituality in life, in our lives, is really significant, is really important, because sometimes the main cause for challenges, problems, difficulties, hardships that we suffer in our lives, it is because of this, that there is no ma'nawiyyah, there is no any kind of spirituality in our life, because our mindset or mentality completely changed into a kind of material and physical mentality. We always try to achieve some kind of material sort of interests and let's say benefits, and we forget about that spiritual aspect of life. And of course, since our soul, our ruh, our nafs is not materially limited, and it always seeks the kind of unlimited sources of beauty, of pleasures, of happiness, of prosperity. Since we cannot find them in this material and limited physical world, then we would always actually feel a kind of what we can say irony in our life, that okay, why nothing can satisfy me, my soul, my nafs, my spirit. That is why if we can consider this spiritual aspect of our existence, this transcendent dimension of our soul or our nafs, then we would better live in this world. We would better enjoy our life. We would better plan for the whole life. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit difficult, a little bit, we can say, hard to enjoy a very prosperous life in this world. That's why when we look at the life of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha, we see that this spirituality is very much significant for this great lady. That is why in the Holy Quran we are ordered and commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنْ وَلَا أَمَةٌ مُؤْمِنَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكَةٍ وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us that you should not marry a mushrik, an infidel, a polytheist. Because of what? Because living with a mushrik leaves no room for any kind of spirituality, for any kind of transcendence in your life. So that's why it's really important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you should live with a mu'min or a mu'mina, for example, to have a good spiritual kind of life or a spiritual kind of transcendence of your soul, of your nafs, of your spirit in your life. And when it comes to the kind of standards for a having a spiritual family, we see that the family of Prophet Zakaria is mentioned in the Holy Quran as a kind of exemplary sort of family. We see that in the Holy Quran it is mentioned that إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the family members of Prophet Zakaria were among those kind of people that they were always doing good things, performing good things, and they were always hopeful and of course fearful at the same time, because khawf and raja both should be with us always. So these characteristics that are mentioned here in this ayah of the Holy Quran about the family of, or the household of Prophet Zakaria, it can teach us that, okay, what kind of family, what kind of lifestyle should we adopt for our family members. And when it comes to the family of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, in the chapter Hal Ata, there are some certain kind of characteristics mentioned about this family, saying that, for example, some of them that we can mention is this, that of course they fulfilled their promises. They actually were always fearful of the hellfire of Jahannam, for example, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's chastisement. And they performed infaq and paid charity while they were in need of, for example, those things that they give them as charity to the needy, to the poor. And they performed all these good actions only and only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the kind of characteristics of the family of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi alaf al-tahiyyati was-salam, which are mentioned in the chapter Hal Ata. As you see in all these ayat, in all these families that are mentioned in the Holy Quran, we see that how much important is that spirituality or ma'nawiyyah in the life of the members of a family and household of a person. So that is why, brothers and sisters, we have to know that according to the ayat of the Holy Quran, according to the seerah of the Holy Prophet, and A'imma alayhim as-salatu was-salam, and Prophet Zakaria's family and the seerah of the family of this Prophet, we see that of course our life, our family life, should be full of a kind of ma'nawiyyah and a kind of spirituality. This is the point that we should take into consideration while having, for example, a family. In the family life, these kind of things should be considered by all the family members. But when it comes to the Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha's life specifically, we see that first of all, in the life of Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha, this spiritual aspect is very much bright and, let's say, kind of glorious sort of life we see spiritually in the life of Lady Zahra Salamullahi alayha. For instance, at the very first day that Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha came to Amir al-Mu'mineen's house, we see that, as I mentioned once in some other episode as well, that here Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha says that فَشَبَّهْتُ دُخُولِي في فراشي بمنزلي كدخولي إلى لحدي وقبري فأنشدك الله إن قمت إلى الصلاة فنعبد الله تعالى هذه الليلة. On the very first night that Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha was brought to Amir al-Mu'mineen's house, we see that Lady Zahra says that my entering to your house, Ya Ali, reminded me of my entering to my grave, to my qabr. And of course it says that what was really important for the Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha in that night and that day was this, that فَأَنْشَدَكَ اللَّهُ أَنْ قُمْتَ إن قمت إلى الصلاة فنعبد الله تعالى هذه الليلة. We see that Amir al-Mu'mineen was there, and Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha told Amir al-Mu'mineen that the best thing that I should do and perform in your house is Ibadatullah Ta'ala, and I will be always busy with the worshipping of Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So this is the thing that Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha, from the very first day of her life in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, is the first thing that she thinks about it, and it is the main concern for Lady Zahra, that how can I have such a kind of spiritual life in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. So of course, the more you are enjoying a kind of spiritual life, then the benefit of this kind of worldview or perspective towards life is this, that of course there are always a kind of shortcomings of properties maybe and things in our life. When you have such a kind of spiritual life, then you would ignore very easily those some of the shortcomings, for example, that are really difficult for the other people to tolerate, to bear it. In a beautiful hadith says that the Holy Prophet ﷺ once asked Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha about some of kind of shortcomings of properties, things in the life of Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha. Then the response made by Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha to her father is really interesting, saying that قَدْ شَغَلَتْنِي لَذَّةُ خِدْمَتِهِ عَنْ مَسْأَلَتِهِ لَا حَاجَةَ لِي غَيْرُ النَّظَرِ إِلَى وَجْهِ الْكَرِيمِ. You see that Lady Zahra Salamullah alayha here told her father that my father قَدْ شَغَلَتْنِي لَذَّةُ خِدْمَتِهِ عَنْ مَسْأَلَتِهِ. She said that when I am busy serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this serving, this khidmah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the thing that made me busy. And of course it means that I completely forgot to ask something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While you are busy worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then of course you cannot think about this, that okay, what are those things I should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only thing that you think about is what is this, that how can I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can I serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La hajata li ghayru an-nadhari ila wajhi al-kareem. She said that I have no anything to ask from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only an-nadhar ila wajhihi al-kareem, only to see or to watch the beautiful face of Him. It means that the only thing that I want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this, that I be in the presence of my Lord and be blessed with all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is this kind of proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most important. Not to ask always the worldly and earthly kind of things from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course it is narrated that at the time that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam came to Prophet salawatullahi alayhi, so there was a kind of dialogue between them. Some of them is this, that once the Holy Prophet ﷺ asked Lady Zahra that, are you satisfied with this marriage that you married Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wasalam? Said that Lady Zahra said, وَقَالَتْ رَضِيتُ بِمَا رَضِيَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. The Lady Zahra sallallahu alayhi said that the only thing that I am satisfied with is the thing that Allah is satisfied with, and the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is satisfied with. So that is why we see that in the life of this great lady, this kind of ma'nawiyyah, or this kind of spiritual perspective and worldview is very much significant, is very much crucial and important, that she always just try to have this kind of spirituality in her life. Because the more you have, the more you enjoy this kind of spirituality in your life, the more your family, the more your environment, the more your household will be again spiritual under the influence of this kind of spiritual lifestyle of you. Because mother plays a very crucial role, a very significant role in a family. That's why our sisters should pay more attention to this important fact, that they must try their best to enjoy a very perfect kind of spiritual life in their, let's say, personal life, individual life, and social life, particularly within the family. So these are the points that we can learn from the Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha. And finally, it is narrated from the Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha said that حُبِّبَ إِلَيَّ مِن دُنْيَاكُمْ ثَلَاثٌ تِلَاوَةُ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَالنَّظَرُ فِي وَجْهِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَالْإِنفَاقُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. These are the three things that I really love. Lady Zahra says that تلاوة كتاب الله, recitation of the Holy Quran, والنظر في وجه رسول الله, looking at the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and والإنفاق في سبيل الله, doing infaq in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the three things that Lady Zahra salamullah alaiha says that they are the most important thing for me from your dunya. Brothers and sisters, particularly our respected sisters and mothers, we must try to take these lessons, to learn these great lessons from Lady Zahra salamullah alayha, and to apply them in our life, particularly in our social life, specifically within our family. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.